all these rejections from the middle Bollinger Band.
Resistance we're going to need.
If you actually see here, we get a
And we'll look for a
hard
healthy
double
higher
I
low.
would not
don't have
be
the
convinced
pullback
to enter
across
long
the
trade.
Hello crypto friends, lots to check in on over the past couple of days since we last checked in. And we had a dump right when I posted the video, and this was on the 4-hour time frame here. And for those of you that have been watching for a year or two at this point, there is a strong correlation with when we post videos and oftentimes seeing huge spikes in bull or bear volume and breakouts or breakdowns. Now, I'm not going to get into too much speculation, but it's happened enough that for me personally, I know something's up with it. And we actually had a person do their dissertation paper on bots' reaction to YouTube posters on crypto. And it's certainly over my head in terms of reading the actual paper. But his conclusion was that yes, bots are reacting to YouTube videos being posted in this space. So just something to be aware of, but plenty of times where we've seen within the first 1 to 2 minutes of the video uploading, significant price action out of nowhere. So we ended up losing the 4-hour uptrend on Bitcoin on that bear break, but the bulls very quickly recovered. And the 4-hour time frame has been my guide over the last 3 days. I've done a lot of short-term flipping. I've traded Litecoin and Ethereum twice since the last video, all on oversold entries. So while we're in an uptrend, I'm using oversold conditions on the 5 and 15 minute time frame to begin to scale in and then scale out of those trades and to ensure that we keep the uptrend intact and look for continuation. So the overbought, or I should say the oversold alerts on the 15-minute time frame going off while we've been in this uptrend have been a good indication of short-term bounces playing out. So look at the 4-hour, 12-period exponential moving average support. We did just close just barely over it. That's pretty much due to the candlestick rolling over right before the bounce got started. But we've essentially been holding it for over 20 candlesticks and over 80 hours. This is my guide for the current uptrend. If we lose the 4-hour exponential support, it will be clear to me that momentum has shifted and we'll have to change our game plan a bit. So while buying 5 and 15 minute oversold conditions while in a 4-hour uptrend, and Ethereum and Litecoin kept their 4-hour uptrend while Bitcoin had a little bit of a fake out there, but that will shift if we lose these 4-hour supports and exponential moving average supports. That will shift for me then looking for hourly oversold bounce conditions before I look for any kind of bounce entries. So here on Bitcoin, I'm not ready to call this our 4-hour high or low yet. I'm still looking at 5,051 as a support level. Anything above that is a higher low, but the bounce off of this support has not seen enough follow through. We can see every candlestick is a little lower high, and we did just break the last little lower high by about $7, but that's not convincing enough of a bounce for me. And actually, it was even less than that. It's looking like it was about 40 cents. So we'll call that a double top. And we still have not seen enough follow through to call this a 4-hour high or low. To see that as a 4-hour high or low, we have to change the hourly trend. We need to hold the low of the dump and then break the top of the bounce of 52.51 to change the hourly trend and to give us our new 4-hour high or low. If we lose this support level and lose the exponential supports, we're going to zoom out to the 12-hour time frame for a bit more clarity. And I don't generally use this time frame, but in this instance, we do have a double top at the high. We broke resistance, but only by $7. That's enough of a double top for me. And if we lose this 4-hour support more convincingly, this is the range to be watching with the most important support, 47.78. And we would look to pull back and ideally for the bulls, hold a higher low compared to that level and to give us a tightening range on the 12-hour time frame. Again, that's anticipating if we lose the 4-hour supports. Otherwise, we're just looking for continuation up towards 5,400 if the bulls can confirm this hourly trend change to a higher high. So plays that I entered, we were looking at that video being posted and the all-out dump on Bitcoin right after it. The 15-minute RSI got under 30 down at the low of this candlestick, and the 5-minute RSI was in the teens. So what I did to scale in to Litecoin on that entry was looking for the oversold conditions. And I was a bit more cautious because Litecoin was not as oversold as Bitcoin, but I'm still using Bitcoin as my guide for making entries on other names. So I had entries at 91, just over 91, just over 90, just over 89, just over 88, and those 4 positions filled. That gave me an average of about low 90s, so 90, 25, let's say. And then I quickly scaled out partial position on this initial bounce, knowing that we need to form a 5-minute high or low. So what that allows me to do is to stay comfortable, because knowing that a 5-minute lower high is going to form and we're going to have to pull back, and then having to determine, is it going to drop to a lower low or can it form a higher low? If I scale out some of my position in small profit, that lowers my cost basis. It keeps me more comfortable, and then I can ride the second half of that position. So what I ended up doing was having an average of 90.25. I sold some at 90.49 and 90.98 on the initial bull move up. I then held half of my position with a cost basis in the $89 range, was comfortable on this pullback, and then was able to hold for a bit more follow through. And I sold in the 91, 92 area up here. Again, just small gains, but using the oversold conditions to make my entries. So that was all that I did with Litecoin. And because Litecoin has been falling off in favor just the last 12, 24 hours or so, where we are seeing more weakness in Litecoin, there we are. And it's a little bit of a red flag for everybody else, because Litecoin has led on the way up, and Litecoin has clearly lost the 4-hour uptrend. We had a really nice equilibrium here that ended up breaking bearish. So that broke bearish this morning, and now we're getting follow through. We're clearly losing 4-hour exponential supports. So the fact that Litecoin is doing this and nobody else is out of Bitcoin and Ethereum tells me Bitcoin and Ethereum are more likely than not to follow with this 4-hour consolidation. So for Litecoin, we zoom out to the 12-hour. How's it shaping up? I've got our high of 99, our low of 80.37, our lower high of 97.88, and we're looking for a higher low compared to 80.37. We're looking for potentially hourly oversold conditions to be an indication of scaling in the low 80s to play based off of that support. Anything on the hourly under 89.46 is just a lower high. We're heading to the low of consolidation. The hourly RSI is in the mid 30s. So hourly oversold is what my focus is on now, with the 12-hour support as my guide to see if we can stay in this tightening range. I have made 2 Ethereum trades since the last video. Again, just oversold conditions on Bitcoin leading to those entries, and really liked how Ethereum was beginning to shape up compared to Bitcoin. We had a move here where Bitcoin, or I should say where Ethereum started to show more strength than Bitcoin did. And where exactly was that? I need to look on the hourly chart. So it was right here that I was looking at. This move in yesterday's action was way stronger than Bitcoin. So knowing that the ETH BTC chart is forming a weekly equilibrium, and knowing that our weekly higher low inside that equilibrium has likely been set at this point, that made me confident switching my focus to ETH. So here's our equilibrium on ETH BTC. How this pattern breaks in the next couple of months will be very important as to whether we're going to be looking to play BTC or ETH bullish. But just knowing that this support level was formed and we had a very solid bounce off of that support level made me confident to be looking at least just for that short-term ETH entry. So I saw this bull move, and I saw the consolidation down to 170, 170. And actually, before that consolidation started taking place, I knew I wanted an entry, and I wanted to begin scaling in. So I had an entry, and actually it was after that low had already been set. And on this bounce, I said, all right, that's a very significant 5-minute bounce. I want an entry. I had orders scaled in, 174, low 174s, 73, 72, down towards this 170, 170 support. I only got one of those orders filled before the breakout that I was hoping for took place. So knowing that I didn't have a full position of what I wanted, but knowing I got a really good entry on the position that I had, I added and bought at the ask at 181. Then I was sitting there all night, or I should say towards late night, getting ready for bed, wanting to go to bed, watching this 5-minute time frame, and up comfortably. So then I saw Bitcoin lose the 5-minute uptrend on this move, and that was my indication to exit the trade. And we ended up pulling back significantly from there. So again, just using Bitcoin as my guide, trading other names. Let's look at that 5-minute trend last night, changing on Bitcoin, and it was right here. So as soon as I saw this little lower high and lower low after we had seen a 5-minute uptrend, we had seen the higher high with $7 of follow through. That's a double top for me. And losing the 5-minute uptrend, I said, okay, that's enough of a shift in momentum, and I'm not extremely comfortable in my Ethereum position because I have an average at about 179 or so, and it was a day maker at that point. What I set aside as a day maker for me and a goal for each day of what I want to take home in terms of profit. So that was enough for me to exit Ethereum based off of that. And that was about right here, losing this 5-minute uptrend. So I ended up locking in a little bit more than a day maker and went to bed all cash, very comfortable, taking a different approach to 2019 crypto than I did in 2017. And that's something that people have to be aware of, because we have, I mean, someone made a post in our chat room the other day that was a very good point. In 2017, they were single. Now they have a girlfriend. How do they go about trading this space? And it's the same thing where 2017, I killed myself waking up every 2 hours. 2019, I'm not going to do that again. And I've already seen instances where I would have done things differently if I were glued to my computer, but that's a trade-off that we have to take. So a little bit of a different shift in game plan, trying to become comfortable, finding an edge, looking at longer term timeframes rather than just the scalp trades and constant monitoring that was a part of 2017 for a lot of people. So made that Ethereum trade and made another entry this morning. Again, same thing, just looking at oversold conditions. Look at the 15-minute time frame in the last 2 days for these names. Ethereum hitting 15-minute 30 RSI led to a very solid bounce. And you can see the 15-minute has not stayed oversold for more than just a very quick dip for the last bunch of days. 15-minute oversold has been a good entry at this point. But again, if we lose those 4-hour uptrends, that's going to change. The 15-minute RSI is not going to be as reliable an indicator, and we'll have to switch to the hourly, longer-term timeframes for more extended levels. So entered, scaled in here on Ethereum as well, had an entry at 170, low 177s, low 175s. Got a couple fills. I had more down here that did not fill. Waited for the 5-minute higher low, higher high. I've exited half at this point because I have seen a little bit of short-term red flags on names like Litecoin losing the 4-hour uptrend, and I am going to exit the second half of my position if we end up breaking down towards lower lows and back to the lows on Bitcoin. Just like Bitcoin, we need the hourly higher low and higher high to confirm the hourly trend change, which we don't have just yet. So here's Ethereum. It's a much more convincing 4-hour higher low, because here's the bulls attempting to shift that momentum back towards the recent high of 187.62. And that shift was enough to say, all right, that is our 4-hour higher low at 174.07. If that level breaks, we lose the 4-hour uptrend, and RSI levels are going to get more extreme, in my opinion, and the 15-minute and 5-minute will no longer be the guide that I use for my entries. Next support level after that, if it breaks, is 164.62. But again, I like the 12-hour time frame. If we lose that 4-hour support, it's a bit of a different look because we got a very clear continuation move, whereas Litecoin and Bitcoin did not. And you can see here on the 12-hour that anything above 160.48 keeps that uptrend in control. So the Ethereum bulls have a bit more space to work with because they got that extra bull push and a very clear multiple percent follow through last night, whereas Litecoin and Ethereum did not. So that's the roundup for the big three. Those are the names that I'm focused on with my trading. We've seen some big moves in BCH and ETC, but for liquidity's sake and comfortability's sake, I'm just sticking to day trading BTC, LTC, and ETH. And again, 2017, I was looking for big time gains, as was everybody, with huge movement. And now I'm shifting my focus to, okay, this is how much I make in a day in the stock market if I want to have a day maker and call it a day. And I'm applying that to the cryptocurrency space and treating it as just another regular trading vehicle, as we're not in, wild, crazy times at this point. We're not in exponential breakouts or anything like that. So shifting my stock strategy over towards crypto as a day trader. So that's what we're looking at on these names, and by the time this video is uploaded and people are watching it, we're going to probably be close to finding our answer on this 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin as to whether or not we can get the higher low and continuation back to the recent high, or if that's going to putter out and head back to the low and lose the 4-hour uptrend. Again, if we keep this 4-hour, 12-period exponential support on Bitcoin, bulls are comfortable. That's when we're looking to buy 5 and 15-minute oversold conditions. When we lose these levels, time frames that we're going to focus on will change. BCH. So BCH on the 4-hour. I want to know how everybody looks on the 4-hour compared to how Bitcoin looks. And I can see BCH is weaker. We're losing the exponential support more clearly. We're breaking support levels a bit more clearly. But this is the range right now to be watching. 289.74 key support and 332.58 key resistance. And we've been within this range for quite some time. And if we look at it on the 12-hour, we have our high, low of the pullback is 272.41. We have our lower high at 332.58, and here's the bulls attempting a 12-hour higher low compared to 272.41. So I like the 12-hour for a broader view of things because the daily chart's a little bit too broad at this point, but it's still all about the 4-hour. And for right now, we do have a decent range to be watching for BCH to determine short-term momentum based on how this range does break. ETC on Coinbase saw a huge spike that did not get seen on other exchanges, and that is due to stop buys being triggered and running the price up. And then there was this arbitrage opportunity that a lot of people took advantage of, but because the network was so congested and transfer times took so long, we had one member who did it successfully for 30%, but then we had other members where they didn't get much because it took so long. And as everybody's transfers are coming in, that arbitrage opportunity just drops as everybody sells from other exchanges onto Coinbase. So it's a little bit of a fluke to take advantage of in terms of arbitrage opportunity, but that does quickly fade as the market is very smart and people react to that very quickly. So the big pullback on ETC is making this chart much different than everybody else, but we are looking for a 4-hour higher low on ETC compared to 568. That's still a long ways away, and we could find that support level anywhere within this range, but I'd be watching for the hourly trend to change to indicate the 4-hour higher low has been set, and we would just look for a bounce for a 4-hour lower high, but that bounce could be an easy 10%. So keep an eye out for the hourly trend change on ETC to indicate that our 4-hour higher low is being set. Binance, a bit more clear consolidation. We have our high of $20, our lower high of $19.46, and now we're pulling back. We technically have not lost the daily uptrend because by my definition, we have to lose the higher low every single candlestick pattern to set a higher low, and that hasn't happened yet. It just now happened, so we're just now looking for the daily higher low compared to 1596. So we have to be cautious because we know the weekly chart is due for consolidation. And if we see this daily chart lose the uptrend, that's our indication that weekly consolidation is underway. So looking at the 4-hour chart, oversold bounce attempt is still very weak, not a lot of follow through. Momentum is clearly shifting from Binance that we have seen very strong in the last couple weeks, and that's no longer the case. The bounces are not getting as much follow through. Look at the 4-hour time frame. Last time we dipped down and touched it and bounced, we went from 1380s to 1540s, over 10% fairly quickly. So again, not really seeing that strength. And also look at the exponential moving averages, bear cross on the 4-hour time frame. Last time we didn't get a whole lot of follow through because some news came out and had that big spike up to save things. But it's definitely worth noting when this exponential previous support now becomes resistance. And again, I would be cautious on Binance, and we have to see where our new daily higher low is going to form compared to 1596. And if we see a bounce attempt and then a lower high and lower low and lose the daily chart, we zoom out to the weekly to look for a healthy weekly higher low to form. XRP, very choppy and very difficult setups all over the place. This is the kind of chart that I would look at and decide against trading because there are more clear setups out there. So I try and find a time frame where it is clear. Even the 12-hour chart, we have a little lower high and lower low with no follow through. The daily chart, we're looking for a higher low to form. Bulls would love if 349 was that higher low. But again, I don't see a lot of clarity in terms of clear bull entries that I like or bear entries that I like, really. So bulls are going to have to confirm the hourly trend change with some follow through, just like we're looking for on Bitcoin. But I personally, unless you're already managing a position, I would want to see a bit more clarity here because this 4-hour time frame alone, here's a little 4-hour higher low and higher high with no follow through. Another one with no follow through. We then broke supports with no follow through. So fake outs in both directions, and just bottom line is it's choppy trading. Worth keeping an eye on for when clarity does emerge that we can base trade game plans around and know our risk to reward of those trades. But until that happens, I personally would be hands off. ADA USDT pulling back a little bit more significantly than other names. 4-hour chart, very clearly losing exponential support, and it's all about 82. And we did break 82, but we bounced right after that break. So the bulls are still attempting to defend this 82 level and hoping that that is our daily higher low here. You can see 3 days with that the low. If that breaks, we're going to lose the daily exponential 12 period, which has been holding for weeks. That would be a red flag. But as of right now, bouncing right off that level yet again. And while these exponential moving averages, the 12 and 26 period, are not these stagnant levels, they're not these concrete set in stone price levels, they are very good visual guides. And again, I've been using it for Bitcoin just to ensure that the bulls are keeping control, and that has helped me keep my confidence in entering those oversold bounce plays for short-term day trades, knowing that we keep holding this exponential support at this point. So all about the hourly. Can we change the trend back to the bulls, or do we fade back down and lose 4-hour exponential 12 support? We'll get that answer into tonight. I appreciate you watching. Don't have any Adventure Time recorded, and I want to get this out as it is pertinent, timely info. So we'll kick it back to the old school and relive some wonderful memories and hope to see these days again in 2019. That'd be nice. Have a great day. Do good things. We'll see you next time. The Chart Guys. Technical analysis. No FUD, no FOMO. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. All-time high.
Let's get off.
Trade like a robot. Higher low, lower high. Are we in a bubble? The bulls versus the bears. Stick to the chart. All time.